Hello and welcome to the Trail and Adventure Motorbike Podcast with me, Clive Barber, and my good mate, Noel Tom. For the days when you can't ride your bike, there's always the Trail and Adventure Motorbike Podcast. Hello everybody, welcome back. It's a very excited Clive joining you today. I've got some exciting news to talk about at the end of this introduction, but before we get there, this is just me and Noel shooting the breeze, talking the kind of crap that we normally talk when we meet up or when we're riding on the trail in our headsets. We touch on all kinds of weird and wonderful things. We actually really enjoyed the process as well and have come up with the idea of maybe every fourth episode becomes just Noel and I catching up and talking about the guests that we've had that previous month as well. So what am I excited about? Well, today I have been messaging backwards and forwards between Lel Pavey at Break Magazine, and we have been talking about the pre-Dakar show that we've got coming up. It's going to be on the 28th of December. That's the Saturday between Christmas and New Year. It's at the Bike Shed in London. We have got some, if it happens, if it comes off, nothing is confirmed yet, but we think we have got 3 utterly brilliant guests that are going to make it an incredible evening. I've had a bit of a moment today to think that, 6 years ago, Noel and I sat round that crappy little hard disk recorder in his downstairs living room, and it's come to the fact that we are going to be chatting to these absolute motorcycling legends at the Bike Shed in London. It's, it's very significant to me. We are going to have to charge this year. I think it cost us nearly £3,000 last year with all of the expenses that we had to endure, including travel, accommodation and all that kind of stuff. So there will be, we're not quite sure what the price is yet, but there will be a ticket price. But I hope that doesn't put you off. And I genuinely mean this. It's going to be a pretty special evening. There's going to be workshops. There's going to be Lel's film that he is flying out tomorrow to Morocco to make. As you know, his films are always cracking, and there's going to be the awesome guests as well and a live podcast recording. Seriously, if you can make it, please do. Right, let's get on with it. Thought of a few things to talk about. The first one being new bikes.
Hey, I've got a new bike.
You haven't?
Somebody sent me a picture. I think it was Adventure Spec Adam F. sent us all a picture of an 800. An R800 or an 850, I'm not sure. And that just registered in your brain. This is typical of you. You saw that picture and that was it. And then I went out and bought a completely different BMW. And you just keep telling people I bought a crappy old R800.
850. I don't even know if there is an R850 exists. And it's not. It's a 1200, isn't it?
But the picture of this horrible red R850 stuck with you. And the picture of the lovely R1200 that I sent you completely went in one eye and out the other eye.
Well, the 1200's still pretty fucking ugly.
Why do you think it's ugly? It's got a round headlight.
It's just that classic BMW, let's do something completely different. And I think if it looked like a GS, they look all right.
So essentially, because this bike is essentially just a boxer engine with a seat on top of it. So it's the boxer engine you don't like.
No, I don't mind the boxer engine. It's just everything that's attached around the boxer engine.
You don't like the black tank or the round headlight. It can only be one of those two things.
I don't know. It's just the whole thing just looks shit. Although I did sit on it when I bought you your new microphone, and it's a lovely position. Once you're on it and you can't see it, feels all right.
As a choice of motorbike, you don't think it's unwise, do you?
I imagine it'd be like, I know it's not a GS, but it's the same engine as a GS. It's the same suspension, probably the same chassis. But I'm sure it's fantastic to ride like they all are.
You don't really know why I bought it though, do you?
Or care. Go on, some people might.
I have had a crisis of confidence, which I don't think I've spoken to you about.
Is this to do with you going off trail riding?
Because I fell off in Normandy. And this is my second fall since the last one I had in 1986. And it was, you see, you have one advantage over me. You fall off a lot, so you're good at it. I don't fall off a lot, so I'm really bad at it. And this is so it wasn't so much the fall that was terrible. It was just that I was terrible at falling off. But I was so badly hurt from it. So I'm in Normandy. I'm with 3 friends, and it's the first morning, and we're going down this lovely, dewy track, which had shallow ruts in it. And I'm at the back, my favourite position. So the guy in front of me, just his front wheel just went. And I did that thing that we all do when we're at the back where it's kind of funny, isn't it? I did sort of, I mean, we're on the intercoms, so I kind of went, oh, it's down, it's down. Immediately my front wheel went. And I can't even remember how I felt, but I know I landed badly and I landed on my shoulder and it felt like I'd broken my ribs and done something to my elbow. So I was out. I just decided just to not join them for the rest of that trip, really. And I just rode around all the roads of Normandy.
So this is your second injury in 2 years.
Yeah. But I just started to think maybe I'm just not cut out for, that's the wrong way to put it. I just thought maybe I just need to stay off the ruts of northern France and stay on the nice wide open tracks of the Alps and northern Italy.
I don't know. It's just in your head, isn't it? You've ridden for God knows how many years without significant injury. Then you've had 2. It's just unlucky. Or you've actually been really lucky. Everybody falls off. Everybody gets injured at some point. And the fact is you carried on riding, so it wasn't a particularly serious injury, was it?
When did you last fall off and hurt yourself? It's a long time ago, isn't it? You don't really hurt yourself because you're good at falling off.
I'm not sure whether that's the case. As you get older, you get worse at falling off, I would imagine, because you're not as supple or as mobile, are you? But like you, as you get better at riding, you don't actually tend to fall off that much. I remember when we first started going out, you might fall off 10 times in a day in the Lake District before they made everything really easy. Whereas now, I actually can't remember the last time I would have fallen off at the Rydale or dropped my bike at the Rydale, but I didn't hurt anything.
Did you fall off in that rally?
I'm sure I did.
Yes, you don't even remember.
Again, wet, muddy ruts, horrible, horrible things. The last injury I got was in 2007 when in the Morocco thing, and I won't bore anybody with that story again.
So I bought that R1200 thinking I'm just going to go on some big road trips in 2025. Whether that'll happen or not, I don't know.
Well, we're going to go to Norway, Scandinavia.
Yeah, about Norway.
Oh, you've got some other friends, haven't you?
No, I haven't got some other friends, but I'm just desperate to go away by myself. I haven't done some big epic solo trip for ages.
I've got other friends. I bet there's thousands of people listening to this podcast who'd like to go on a trip to Norway with me. Adventure Spec Adam's coming. Anyway, we were talking about it today. I haven't included you in the conversation because it's like...
Keep mentioning this WhatsApp group. You've never invited me to it.
It's not a WhatsApp group. It's just me and Adam chatting.
Oh, okay.
And it's like, well, if I tell you this is the plan, you go, oh no, what do you want to do that for? Let's just go to Scotland. Wales is really nearby. What do you want to burn all that fuel for?
What time of year are you thinking of going?
We are talking about end of July. See, I've got some work go lives that I have to plan around, so I can't decide to go on to fit in with school holidays. It's more work is more of a thing for me.
Yeah.
I have to be there for certain dates.
How are you going to get there?
Ride. Ferry, Newcastle, Amsterdam. I think it's about 650 miles from Amsterdam up to the northern point of Germany, where you can get a ferry from there to Denmark. So it's 2 days riding up there.
Hang on a minute. No, you're going to ride to the top of Denmark and then get the ferry at Herschel's off the top of Denmark.
Probably. I can't remember.
I need to be in this WhatsApp group.
It's not a group. It's me and Adam getting things wrong.
I have this long-standing... This is somebody we need to get onto the podcast years ago. So a great film that this lad had done, a young Swedish lad had done, of riding up through Sweden into Finland. Do you remember that? He had loads of great drone footage in it.
No.
We should find him. But anyway, he got me thinking about Sweden and that I would love to ride up through Sweden. No, that doesn't help, does it?
This is why I have to find all the guests, listeners.
I'll find him now. That thrown down the gauntlet. You slapped me in the face with one of your gloves.
One of my many gloves.
So I'll find him. So I want to ride up through Sweden, but I'm not sure how I'm going to get to Sweden, whether I get a ferry or... I'm so in love with the tunnel.
Do what you want. You're antisocial.
I'm on my own, yeah.
Nobody cares. Don't take any photos. Don't take any videos. Nobody's interested in your sad, lonely trip. I hope your stupid 850 BMW breaks down.
Do you think there'll be more? Are you thinking you'll have more than 2 in your party?
Now, well, there's going to be loads of us because I'm so popular. But I don't know. It's an open invitation to our friend groups, of course. Yeah, it'd be nice to take a few people. But what I'm thinking is we're going to call in on Magnus and go to his bike night.
You need to find out where he lives first. That might change your plans slightly.
I know where he lives because he said it on the podcast.
But he doesn't live in Norway, does he?
No, he's in Sweden. just over the border.
So you're going to Sweden now?
Yeah, you have to go through. You're going to do a bit of everything.
Oh, so you're not getting the ferry from Denmark. You're going to ride up through Sweden.
I can't remember what we're doing. I want to go and see Magnus. I want to go to his bike night on a Wednesday night.
Okay.
And I want to go and see Thomas
in
Norway and go and meet him and ride with him. And I want to go and ride with Robert again as well.
So you're taking a month off work?
No, they're going to do all that in, don't know, it's not going to be a month.
And this is why I'm not going with you, because you're going to be saying to me on day 3, guys, we're behind schedule.
I'm not a scheduler when it comes to those trips.
Well, you're going to have to be for this trip because you're taking in 2 countries you didn't plan on taking in.
Oh, it's all on the way. It'll be fine. It'll all work out.
This is winter, though, isn't it? This is part of the fun of winter.
This is the very start of planning and looking and realising that, yeah, that's a stupid idea. You can't do all of that. But the current Mrs. Barber is also planning our Motovino trip. Our good friend Alex, who has a website called motovino. Something or other. If you look on his website, he's got some amazing photographs of all these incredible vineyards that he stayed at last summer. And I showed that to Mrs. Barber and she's desperate to do that trip. So that's a Santander Bilbao ferry. And then I think there's about 4 or 5 places that Alex stopped at that look amazing. And we're just going to plan a trip around those 4 or 5 amazing places. 2 up on a big bike.
As with so much in life when it comes to relationships, this is going to be all about managing expectations, isn't it? Are your expectations of that trip the same as hers, do you think? I
am relinquishing all expectations to let Mrs. Barber lead the way.
That could work, but then she might want some input.
No, that's what I'm saying. She can plan the whole thing.
All right. She's a good passenger. Has she ever fallen asleep on the back?
I don't think she has fallen asleep, but she is a very good passenger. But the other thing, if you get the boat from Plymouth, it's only a 1-night ferry trip, and it's only about an extra 50, 60 miles to get to Plymouth from where we live anyway. It takes an extra hour, which seems worthwhile to not spend 2 nights on the boat.
Is that a 2-week trip?
That probably will be a 2-week trip, yes. And you advised me not to take the camping gear, didn't you? Just go and find places to stay when you're there.
You're honestly, right at the last minute, you'll find that hard to resist, but stick with it.
I'll be strong. You can always buy a tent, can't you?
Exactly. There's never going to be a night where you're going to be thinking, I wish we'd camped.
Would you say you were a regretful person?
I was listening to Malcolm Gladwell today.
Always a good listen.
Yeah, and he was asked that question, and he said he had no regrets. And I thought, I think I feel a bit like that.
Do you?
Yeah, a little bit. I only have 2 regrets. One in big regrets. 1 regret in my life, in that I was asked to do something as a younger man, asked if I wanted to move to France when I was very young, and I declined because I just thought, no, I've got a rubbish job here. Why do I want to go and live in southern France? And that I should have absolutely gone and lived in southern France for a while.
What's your second regret? And can she hear you?
No, I think my second regret is because I was asked to go to France a second time by somebody else, and I turned that down as well. But then I'd only just met her, so I didn't think it was a good idea.
See, I always think people that have no regrets must be really stupid, unless I'm really stupid, because I've got loads of regrets, most of which I couldn't even tell people.
It's more nuanced, though, isn't it? Because some people might have regrets, but have decided that they don't want to live a life with regrets, and so say, no, I don't have any, but they probably do.
I think what they're actually saying is, I'm really happy with where I am now with my life. I wouldn't change a thing. Nor would I, but there's loads of stuff, little things, big things I look back on and just think...
You love your children.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, no, I love where I am now. There is. But there's loads of other stuff that I would do differently. Quite often it's the things that you didn't do. But also there's loads of things I have done. I look back on my teenage and early 20s and all I was doing was going out. I had an absolute ball, it must be said. Working in nightclubs, playing music, drinking heavily and having a right laugh. But I look now at some of the younger people we know that are going off travelling and doing adventures and I'm thinking, why the fuck didn't I do that?
Yeah, it was a slightly different time, wasn't it? With that, not many people were doing that kind of thing, I don't think.
No, there's no such thing as a gap year, was there? That's for sure.
Not really, no. I didn't go out of the country till I was asked this the other day. I didn't go out of the country till I was 21 when I went to Paris for the weekend. And I didn't fly, I think, probably till I was about 25.
Foreign holidays weren't even a thing, were they, when we were kids?
No, they weren't. I didn't know anyone who went abroad for holidays.
Well, I don't regret it anymore then, because it just didn't happen. Nobody fucking did it. Nobody did it. I'm trying really hard not to swear as well. A few people have told me off for swearing. I'm not doing very well.
recently. I mean, I know it's happened over the course of the years, but
Yeah, some guy put a comment on YouTube.
how personally do you take these things?
Really personally. Something along the lines of, whoever keeps saying the word fucking, you're just spoiling a really interesting conversation.
If anything, I just feel bad for the people that have sort of just taken little Jimmy out in the car and they put this podcast on, and little Jimmy on the back seat all of a sudden starts to hear you effing and jeffing.
Well, I feel sorry for little Jimmy having to listen to this kind of nonsense anyway. Put Bluey on or whatever he's called. Stop being cruel to your children, you selfish person.
Have you had, I mean, I'm just tying this regrets thing to opportunities a bit, but have you had any opportunities that you've turned down?
One, I've probably told you this before, but there was the time when, this is a true story, Fatboy Slim invited me to go on tour with him, but it was my birthday party the next day. So I was 21 the next day. I was having a party at my house. So I said, can't, I've got a birthday party tomorrow.
When you say on tour with him, what were you, his dresser, or were you just his?
Just to go along and have a bit of a laugh. It was when he was in the House Martins. I lived in a flat with a guy he was at school with. They came and stayed at our flat basically when they played in Liverpool. And I just got on really well with them. Their van broke down. I had a car at the time. I helped them sort a hire van out, ran them round a bit. Norman, not his real name, said to me, do you want to come with us? I was going, yeah, fucking right I do. But it sounds like, touring with a band. That'd be a right laugh. But I couldn't go.
Why couldn't you go?
Because I had my birthday party the next day. The guy that's driving the van for them became the bass player in the beautiful South. Sliding door moment.
There's another story that I've heard you tell, but then you did have a few minutes of fame, didn't you? And you never, of all the stories you tell over and over and over, this is the one you should tell over and over and don't.
Which one?
And it's you in the music video.
So this was when I was about 18 or 19. Jimmy Somerville had just left Bronski Beat and they were filming a video for their first single after Jimmy Somerville had left, and it was called Beat Boy. They asked the university to round up a few people that could go and help out on this video shoot, and I was one of them. The premise is you basically had to go up on stage and pretend that you were auditioning to be the new singer. And then the new singer would kind of walk on and slap you with a newspaper and push you off the stage, and he'd take over the singing.
Did you have to wear a sexy outfit?
I was just wearing jeans and a T-shirt, I think.
Stonewashed jeans, I bet.
But listener, you can still find this video on YouTube if you look. They weren't getting what they wanted with the dancing. So they just went, really let yourself go, really go for it. So I did, and looked an absolute Burke.
I have seen it, but I can't remember how easily spottable you are in it. Are you wearing glasses?
Yeah. It's like me, but really, really young and skinny. Great dancer.
It just looks like one of your kids in a video, doesn't it?
It looks like Wilf, yeah. But that was fun. We got paid £15. We got lots of free pizza and lots of free beer at like 7:30 in the morning. And it was also linked to the film Letter to Brezhnev, which I also make a very brief appearance in, walking along the street.
No way.
The video was filmed in the same nightclub as quite a bit of the film was, in a club called The State, which is a great fabulous old Liverpool ballroom, which was turned into a nightclub in the 80s and the 90s, but I think it's closed again now.
This is nothing to do with motorbikes.
It's really nothing to do with motorbikes.
I'm really enjoying it at the moment. Let's get it back onto me. I'm really enjoying having a ridiculous amount of motorbikes does make winters much more tolerable, because I've got endless little jobs I want to do to endless motorbikes. Whereas imagine yours are in fairly tip-top condition. Do you have any fiddling to do before you go away?
I don't really. I tend to do bits and pieces fairly consistently as I go along. So I've just put rear pads on the big 990. Probably needs front pads, and it probably needs a service. I'd probably service it before I went.
So you're really missing out on the sort of shopping for bits and pieces.
Oh, I get to do plenty of that anyway.
What, you must have everything by now. What bits and pieces are you still after? What was the last thing you bought that was motorcycle related?
I'm going to have to edit this out.
It's a thing of beauty, that. We'll have to speak in code now. How many protective pieces of headwear have you got now?
Just 2.
Mrs. B is never going to notice this, is she?
Count the fingers.
And she doesn't know how much they cost.
I don't know.
She doesn't know they cost more than £30.
No, well, they don't, do they?
That's the last thing you bought. Gosh.
I haven't bought a lot of kit recently. I bought a Fuel suit, waterproof kind of adventure suit from Fuel, the one Charlie Borman wears. Because I got it very, very cheaply in Spain, and it was like less than half price. It was ludicrous. It's like a £500 jacket, and I got it for like £170 or something. Don't know why. and then got the trousers half price.
That's the one thing. I can buy motorcycle jackets very easily. Other bits of apparel I find quite tricky. You don't have any motorcycle jeans, do you?
Yeah, I do. Got some hood ones. I wore them when we last went out on the big bikes.
You'll get a lot more use out of those when we get the cruisers.
Definitely. Looking forward to that already. Jeans, bandanas, tassels.
No plans to sell your KTM? You could sell your KTM on here. It would get snapped up.
My EXC.
Yeah.
No, I can't face selling it.
Oh, what? It's just sitting there gathering.
It'd be worth so little. It's not worth selling.
Do you think it'll ever become an interesting collectible bike? Well, it will in 100 years, won't it?
After my death. Yeah, definitely. Did you see the new Croc gibbets that I've had made?
I did. I've seen you've had a lot of stick online today about Crocs. I've stood in the background because if people don't like Crocs, they're very hard to win over.
They're diversive, aren't they? Crocs are diversive. Some people love them. Lots of other people loathe them. We both wear them. And quite a few of our...
I'm wearing them now.
Quite a few of our group wear them as well. Because they're very lightweight, aren't they? They're very comfortable to put on after a day wearing boot.
They're just modern day clogs, but clogs didn't get this amount of grief, did they?
It's a bit like voting for Trump. Half the people do, half the people loathe and despise him. And Crocs are the same.
Smart people wear them, and people who aren't as smart don't wear them.
Draw your own conclusions.
Don't think you're allowed to say that.
You just said it.
This is a funny trend, this thing that's come along where you stick things in your Crocs. Where's this come from?
Well, it's probably come from the company that makes Crocs.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, Gordon was quite funny. Gordon Blackley of this parish. His comment was, I love the holes to let your F word dignity drain out.
Well, he's slightly plagiarised quite an old joke.
Is he?
About, why do Crocs have holes? To let your dignity flow out.
And I've just replied, or for letting the fabulous in.
If anything, you could say that our Crocs are pretty grim because they're just this horrible old man brown. But we haven't even gone for trendy colours, have we? We've just got very dull old man brown colour.
Oh, you're suggesting we should go colourful?
If you're going to do it, you've got to be all in.
If you've got it, flaunt it.
My nephew's got some that are like do you remember the Cars animated film?
You can't get them. They're a collector's item.
They're like the little red car.
Yeah. As soon as they come out, they release them and they're sold. And the next thing you know, and they're on some young person's website for £300.
So you've had some little TAMP podcast things made?
Yes.
Are you going into business selling these?
I'm going to sell them. Hopefully sell half of them and give the other half away.
Have you got a big box?
I've got 100.
Really?
Yeah. Look out for those on eBay. Croc lovers. Do you know what's been annoying me this week?
No.
Inspirational quotes.
Where are you seeing these inspirational quotes?
Well, they're always on Instagram, aren't they? So I don't know if it's to make themselves feel better or to make other people feel better.
What are your favourites?
They all say that one of two things.
Things like, do something that scares you every day.
Living your best life is your most important journey in life. What is that saying?
I don't know.
Setting goals is the first step in turning the invisible into the visible.
Is there one that you like?
I haven't found any that I like.
I wonder why you're being fed these, though. You must have lingered too long on one of them.
Possibly. Life is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be experienced.
These are all... I love these.
You do?
These are all... I'm writing these down. Yeah, these are all to live by.
Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. So that's what most of them are. That's supposedly Winston Churchill. He was probably too pissed to say that coherently. It's basically saying you failed like most people do in life. Like 95% of us won't ever achieve greatness, right? So it's basically just saying you're going to keep failing and one day you'll be successful. But you're not going to be successful. Chances are you're not going to be successful.
But see, my phone is listening into this conversation, so I know I'm going to get bombarded with this.
They're either saying that keep trying and one day you will succeed, which you won't, or keep going. There's better days ahead.
Is ready to race falling into this category?
No, you'd have to put something on the front of it or the end of it, I think. Oh, here's one about travel. We travel not to escape life, but for life not to escape us.
I love that.
I knew you'd like that one.
I don't know. I don't see them. They're invisible to me.
Right. I'm going to start sending you loads. Are there no motorcycles that you've owned that you regret selling?
Tonight, I was looking on eBay for an Africa Twin that I once owned, and I kind of regret selling it because I just spent so much time tinkering with it, and I got some fork extensions for it, which were quite hard to get hold of, to raise it, and I got the rear shock serviced, and I got that raised. I got a little bracket made, and just little things to alter it. And then I just had another crisis of confidence moving it around in the garage and thought, this bike's too heavy. I need to sell it. And I sold it. And I kind of regret that. Then again, I don't, because there's so many bikes to own, isn't there? And I can't own all of them and keep all of them. So even the ones that I really loved and I look longingly at pictures of, I still see that it had to go because there's another one on the way. I'm up to about 7 bloody bikes now.
If you had the money and the space, though, would you have more?
If I had the space, it's not really about the money, Clive. It's just about the space, I think. Yeah, if I had that one of those big silly warehouses, I probably would keep going. Also, there's something depressing about keeping lots of batteries and lots of fuel fresh. That gets on top of me a bit sometimes. And keeping on top of the MOTs. I've just found out I've got a bike insured this year. I didn't even realise I had insured. I thought it was having a year off, and I've let an automatic renewal kick in. And I realised now I could have been using it. But I've said this before, you do become your own transport manager a little bit. But there's just lots of bikes I'd like to own. Although that number is decreasing. There's only one bike on the list at the moment that I'm sort of not looking to buy, but I would like to have next. But there's been all this talk recently, hasn't there, online about all these new bikes coming out. It means nothing to me, the new stuff coming out, because none of it appeals. And I feel like there's a heck of a lot of bikes to get through before I get to new stuff becoming available to me, within my sort of budget. So I've no interest at all in the new stuff. I'll probably have stopped riding by the time this stuff falls down to $4,500.
Why, in that case, are you going to Motorcycle Live next week?
For the people.
On your own.
Clive, for the people. I'm a people person. You're going at the weekend.
I'm saving my what little holiday I have left for Christmas.
You've got a boss. I just couldn't face... Look, I would have loved to have gone with you, but I just can't face the thought of going at the weekend. It's pretty busy in the week, isn't it? But the weekend will just be...
Yeah, it'll be mobbed. Mind you, I'm going the second weekend, which hopefully it would have died down a little bit by then. This new crop of bikes, the ones I talked to with Andre about, you seem to have some fairly strong views on the new DRZ.
Just didn't understand why people were going so crazy about it. I mean, I know it does have a lot of changes to the original one, but essentially it's the same kind of style of the one that's been around for donkeys, but no one's really been searching out DRZs for the last 15 years, have they?
You really made me think about this because, yeah, effectively it is a very similar looking bike. It's actually heavier, which is a backward step. But I think what it is, it's filling that gap between the 300 Honda and the 690 KTM whilst stepping over frequent servicing enduro bikes. From that perspective, it's that unicorn of low servicing, a decent amount of power, but still light enough to ride UK trails on easily.
Well, the biggest difference with it is that it's not carburetted anymore, is it? That's a big change, I suppose. But I don't think that was really putting people off getting the old DRZs. When people have said, what bike should I get? DRZ has never been suggested, has it? It's never really come into it.
You wouldn't suggest a DRZ because they're all 25 years old now and about as reliable as a 25-year-old DRZ. But would you swap your CRF for one?
I don't like Suzuki switchgear.
That's a rubbish reason.
There's something about the build quality of them I've never quite liked.
We've had this discussion before. In an American survey done a few years ago, they are the second most reliable motorcycle in the United States of America to Yamaha and Honda, who came joint first.
They are robust. Neil Gonzalez, our friend Neil, went down through Africa on his, did nothing to it, I don't think. And that sort of suggested to me it was a very robust motorcycle. But there's just something, I don't know. It's funny, isn't it, how we have this kind of brand allegiance. And I've had one or two Suzukis, and I just didn't feel they were me. I didn't like them somehow. Don't know why. They just didn't, the little bits of the fixtures and fittings I didn't quite like.
Never had a Suzuki.
Now, the one I did have, I had to sort of strip down, sandblast, powder coat, change all the nuts and bolts for stainless steel, and I felt I had to build it again and do a better job than Suzuki had done. There must be a brand where you think, I will never own one of those.
It's funny, isn't it? Chatting to Andre, and he's pulling out all these weird and wonderful brands. Used to be Italian and now made in China, and I'm thinking, yeah, it looks great, but there's no way I'm going to buy one of those because It looks like they might just fall to bits. But then you look at things like the Cove, and the CF Moto, and they are starting to produce some really interesting looking bikes now that seem to have a decent reputation and a decent history for reliability as well. So I think they are going to definitely start making inroads, I think. There's a CF Moto, a 450. It's a twin.
A parallel twin.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yes, that's appealing. I'm looking forward to the NEC because I just like the sort of the feel of it. It's a nice little bike fix, isn't it, in the depths of winter?
Yeah.
Just keeps you going that one bit further into next year. While I was coming away from the bike show, relieved that I've got bikes made in the early 2000s before everything went into this fake, crappy, brushed stainless steel thing. And back to switchgear, nothing looks as well made as it. This sounds very old manish, doesn't it? But it always looks as if quality has gone up a little bit or things have been cheapened quite a lot. I go back into the garage when I get back and just look at my sturdy, well-built bikes from the 2000 and somethings, and they always seem reassuringly better made than the more recent stuff.
I don't really notice things like that, though, because I'm not very fussy about buying motorcycles. They're tools to be ridden.
And the only sort of stand I go on to, I just think the people that have upheld their standards are usually just BMW, really. Even Honda. There's been a lot of talk, hasn't there, recently about Honda getting cheaper and cheaper bits. It's bound to happen.
CCM are bringing out a new 450 adventure bike, which might be quite interesting.
Have they not released an image of it?
No, I haven't seen anything yet. I think that's out this Saturday. They're announcing it, maybe at the show.
You kept teasing us all on a WhatsApp group about having some inside information.
I did.
Were you bluffing, or did you have some inside information?
I knew the DRZ was coming. Somebody told me about it a couple of weeks before.
Somebody?
I'm not going to say anything because I never divulge my sources. Right, have we talked enough nonsense yet? See, I didn't even swear then. I think I've only sworn once.
Are you meeting up with Nick Jacobs still when you go to the bike show?
I haven't got any plans. I don't know who's going when, so that is one thing I'm quite happy to go to and just wander around on my own.
Have you seen Nick's Project Biker Nick's trailer for his film? It's very good, isn't it?
It's very good, yeah. That looks really exciting. It's a nice personal story. So that'll be a good thing to look out for. Project Biker on the YouTubes.
Today, when it came up in the chat that somebody, don't need to name him, but you were talking about security for garages and cameras. And he said he put a camera in his garage and then realised, watching the footage back, that he just goes into his garage and just stares at his bike for half an hour. And he thought the camera was faulty, but it was just him standing still, staring at his bikes. And I thought, God, that's amazing. I thought I was the only person that did that. You don't do that, though, do you?
Not for half an hour, but I do that, yeah. Sometimes I'll just go in and look, and then...
You take a cup of tea with you?
Yeah, quite often. Because I quite often think, where's that cup of tea? And I've just left it in there. I always end up doing something, though. I always end up tinkering with something if I go in normally.
Why aren't you doing up that bike you've been talking about doing up for years?
I am. I do one thing a year, and I bought a new seat for it. I got a really cheap kind of hump race seat to go on it, which will look quite smart.
This was 2 years ago you did that.
Oh, I don't know if I've mentioned this on the podcast before. I'd got a board ready. I was going to outline the frame of the bike so I could then learn how to make my own wiring loom. Prepared all that and thought, worked out what bits I needed to buy. And as I was researching it, I realised that if you go to David Silver Spares, Specialist Honda Spares, you could just buy one for 35 quid.
What's holding you back on this build?
It's just having time to do it, really. I just don't have time.
I'll accept that.
Maybe it becomes something I do when I retire. I mean, I'd love to have done that as a job, really. That would have been my dream job.
You could speed it up a little bit. When you say you haven't got time, you could just do an hour a week.
Yeah.
Half an hour a week.
Absolutely, you can. But
probably once you start, I think it's just that hurdle of starting. Once you start, you won't stop.
I've started and stopped a number of times now.
Maybe it's good to have something unfinished.
Maybe. It's
like that, I read a great quote today. Never do up a bike that you've got in the garage.
It's the start of something really inspiring.
If you want to... I can't think of anything. Don't start something you can't. Maybe that's it.
You've started, but now you've failed. But then if you keep failing, eventually you'll be successful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there we go. I hope you enjoyed that. More of that probably in about a month's time. Back to the Dakar evening. I'm hoping to catch up with Lel in the next few days when we can announce who the guests are, when we've got confirmation, when we know who can and can't make it. But yeah, still really excited about that. All right. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening. We really appreciate your support. Don't forget you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And if you really appreciate what we do, you could consider supporting us on Patreon or buy us a coffee. Links are available on our website, which is tampodcast.com, tampodcast.com, where we also have a limited selection of branded stuff. But either way, please keep listening and spreading the word. See you next time.